Hello, my name is Niw.
So anybody who knows me in real life knows that I'm a huge SHINee fan. The only things that I have in my life are making things and SHINee. That's not true. I have a lot of really fantastic friends. When the music video for Don't Call Me by SHINee dropped, I was super excited to see these like black berets with all of the pearl and silver on them, because not only are they really fun to make, they're super easy, and they're really wearable, like real world wearable. First thing you're going to need for this project is, of course, a beret. In my case, I chose to make the berets because I knew I was going to be making 4 of them, so just cost effectively it made more sense to do it that way. If you're only planning on making 1 beret, my suggestion would be to like buy one cheaply or use fabric that you already own, or use a beret that you already own. So what I chose to do was to use materials that I had basically around my apartment. So I started with this really rough, thick felt, which was just not a nice texture for the outside of the beret. So my solution to that was I went and got this old jacket. Hoarding material has finally worked out for me.
Vindication!
I actually followed the tutorial that the beautiful Malice has already uploaded on our channel. For Valentine's Day, she made heart berets. And so I used the same technique, I just made it a circle, obviously. And the only difference is the opening of the beret. So I'm going to give you a look at what I did there. So in Malice's version of the beret, she sewed the opening together and then flipped it inside out, and it gave it a clean finish. For me, because I want to replicate the beret that's in the SHINee music video, I'm taking some scrap pleather and I cut out a long 5 centimeters wide strip of it, and I'm just putting that around the opening of the beret. I'm going to sew that down and then flip it through, make it neat looking, sew it down again, and then that's going to give it a nice finish on the beret opening that is reminiscent of the one that you see in the music video. You can see in the footage that I've left a gap at the back of the beret. This is because later on you can run a string through the channel that you've made and use that to tighten the beret on your head. The first beret that I worked on was Onu's. The first thing I did when I started this project was jump onto an online jewelry component store and try and find as many chains and bits and pieces that were similar to the ones that SHINee was wearing as I could. Now this one is a wavy chain, but it has little medallions hanging off it, and so I decided I would just cut them off, and that's how I ended up going about a lot of this, is just, you know, finding stuff that was kind of similar and altering it so that it would work for what I needed it to. After that, it was as simple as using invisible thread to sew the chain on. Since it already has rings in it, it's pretty simple just to run the thread through those rings. And I also was intentionally trying to hide my stitches underneath the leather band on the inside just to make it a little bit neater. Step 2 for Jinky's hat was to sew the pearls on. Malice got me this gigantic sack of pearl beads for Christmas, so I'm working my way through those here. I decided to spice mine out. I decided to space mine out every 2 wavy bar things. If that was your first introduction to SHINee's music, I'm so sorry. So once I was finished, it was time to attach the chains that are actually falling off the back of Jinky's or Onu's beret. So how I did that was I attached both ends of the 3 strands of mini pearls to a jump ring each, and then just attached that jump ring to the side of the hat. It's pretty simple. The chain links between these little pearls was too small to get the actual jump ring through, so I got a thin bit of jewelry wire and then just twisted that around the jump ring and used a pair of pliers to make it look neat and make sure there's no bits poking out that could hurt anybody.
And that's owner's beret done. This is where we can start zooming through these. I attached a chain which is really similar to Jinkies, only it's like straight bars. I also have a ball chain. I think this is like a 4mm ball chain. And this one's a little bit more tricky because there's no rings for you to get the thread through. So I come up on one side of the chain, go over the top and then underneath, and then catch on the ball. So you have to like keep it tight so that the string is not gonna come loose. Oh, and also a great tip, because this invisible thread is made out of a plastic, I don't trust it to not slip and slide, so I've been using like a little dot of hot glue on the ends just to make sure that it's not going anywhere. Now, the one problem I did have with making Minnow's beret is that my ball chain was a little bit too short. And on the back of Minnow's beret, you can see in the video that he's got like a loop of the chain, and I quite like the way that looked. So the way I got around that was I took the connector that would connect the necklace together normally, and then I used it to attach it to a thinner ball chain that I had. I just like twisted some wire up inside the connector, and then to attach it to the hat I actually just attached some pearls to the end of the little ball chains and used a safety pin because I thought that that looked pretty rock star. And you could adjust the loop and the positioning later if you wanted to. Okay, everybody, round 3, it's 10 time. Okay, so Tay Men's beret, 3 main components: string of rhinestones, string of pearls, and 2 brooches on the front of the hat. I started out with some of these cameo backs, which I bought on the jewelry supply website and spray painted silver. After that, I used the leftover chains from the other berets and the pearls and a whole bunch of super glue. Just arranged everything until it looked pretty. The idea is that you're going for the look of like a vintage brooch or something that would be quite expensive, but because we're making it with odds and ends from either your like broken jewelry collection or leftovers from other projects, it ends up being quite pretty. Now finally, what was by far the most fiddly and time consuming of the 4 hats: key. So this one was definitely the most challenging, but also the one I had the most fun working on. The challenge that I faced is I don't really have access to like a thrift store or something where you would easily be able to get your hands on these kind of military style buttons and badges and things. I could have ordered them online, but I really wanted to tackle this idea of making like shiny military inspired crossover type badge things for my hat. I also don't have a lot of spare cash, so I try and reuse stuff that I have instead of buying new materials. So what I used was paper clay, and I pushed the paper clay into these cameo badges and then sculpted the shape of the SHINee inspired badges. You could also definitely use things like water bottle caps, whatever you want as like the base for these badges. But I also think that if you were to use Sculpey, it would be a lot easier than paper clay. Paper clay is not good for working small details. It's really cheap, it's really safe to use, and you don't have to like cook it or do anything with it, but it is also just kind of clumpy and weird and lumpy. So it took a lot of trial and error for me to make it work as a medium for this project. But yeah, the cameos are a really nice touch. I think that they look really pretty, and they kind of add to the idea that these are metal badges or pins. I think these cameos were both under like $1 too, so they're very affordable additions to your project. All I did next was spray paint these things silver and then use nail polish as a top coat. I'm not proud of it, honestly. I really want to do this again. I think that this concept is really, really solid and I like the idea of it. I just think the materials that I use can be improved upon. So the paper clay and the nail polish specifically. I would love to swap the paper clay out for Sculpey, as I said, and I want to try out like crystal resin or something rather than nail polish. Nail polish was just what I had. The paper clay also, I should have smoothed it out with water, I guess, because the paint really picked up a lot of like fingerprints. But for the most part, I'm actually pretty pleased with how they came out. Definitely can be improved upon, but since it was the first time I have ever done this, this is just kind of like proof of concept, and I would love to like do more with this, so I'm really excited. This project took a little longer than I was expecting it to, so I'm super excited to finally be bringing you guys the reveal shot. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm really proud of how they turned out.
Maid? No, I birthed her.
This one was kind of a passion project for me, and honestly, this is a little TMI, but I was going through a bit of a rough time in my personal life while I was making these berries, so they gave me a lot of stress relief, and I'm really happy that they turned out, you know, pretty decent. I really hope that everyone watching enjoyed the video, and we did SHINee proud, or did Key proud, I guess. So like I said, this is a passion project. I'm really into SHINee and I really love everything they do, so that's why I wanted to make these berets. If you're into anything to do with fashion, craft, K-pop, DIY, all that kind of stuff, then I would really appreciate it if you could give this video a like or subscribe. I know Malice has got some exciting content coming up, and we're both learning hard to figure out this YouTubing thing and upgrade our camera skills and voiceover and editing and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.